Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Art Weekly. I'm in a mess here. I'm often asked about these bumpers. They're so useful. I've now got smalls, mediums and large. They're the smallest and that's the largest. But when we came back from the exhibition, as hard as I tried to keep a track of it, to keep organised, they're very muddled. So I'm going to take a minute this morning. I'm not going to bore you with it, but I'm going to take a minute this morning to get organised. As usual, as if by magic, the whole cabin seems just a mess. So I want to have a bit of a sort out. There's quite a few paintings that have got to come back in, and before I can get going let me go and get it. Oh, this is the last offcut that I've found. I'm going to paint this. I'm going to put gesso down and paint it as it is before identifying areas and then asking nicely if Craig can make a stretcher for it. Well, I've had the hoover going, I've had a little resort, and I'm feeling better. Oh God, it's good to get a surface back. I know you know what I mean. Ready to get the gesso going here. Let that dry. I had every intention of going straight to the cabin to make progress on the canvas. Oh gosh. And I could see in my mind's eye a pot or something here, a little bit of an adjustment. And bingo, I've spent all morning just playing on this big guy and going a bit crackers on this one. But that makes me happy. I like that. That's fun. And I do actually like it when that happens. You see something, just an outline of something faint, a faint suggestion that the paint has given you when you sit and live with something for a while. Amazing. Having something on this scale, you have to keep standing back to see the whole thing. It's very tempting to get caught up in one little bit, but I'm really, really enjoying it. This is a keeper. I've got a few paintings now that I can't part with, and this is definitely going to be one of them. Okay, I will try and get myself up there and talk more about what's happening with that piece of canvas that is now gessoed up. The gesso's dry on this canvas, and the idea behind this is Craig's going to make some small stretchers. And we've ummed and ahed, should we cut the fabric to wrap around and get stapled into the back? Or is it better to paint the whole thing and then cut it? I don't think I want white sides. I think I want the painting to wrap around. Maybe just paint a ground on the whole thing and then cut out. Or cut one piece out, see how that plays out when Craig gives me the stretcher, the mini stretcher, and take it from there. Last week we took the shades. I used the shades in the Tetrad box, but I thought, why don't I use the tints? So I'm going to try and establish mixed paint to get these tints. I didn't make a good attempt at it yesterday. This is what happens when you're impatient I didn't let things dry. I made a real old muddy mess. So I just thought, leave that alone, leave it to dry. But this board will be brilliant for me. I won't discard it, obviously. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And then, so I took a little bit of time mixing, trying to find the closest shade I can get. And I can honestly say I've never put these colours together, ever. But also fair to say that they work. I will use that as a ground. So it's such a good experiment. So nice to see something fresh and something very different. Things have dried out, it's hot again in here, and in that short bit of time my brushes have dried out. Yeah, that's really dried up. I'm going to go in just with some neat yellow green. I've got to remember to come right to this edge. I don't want to waste any bit of canvas because it will get turned over those small stretches. I'll introduce some white just to lift it. Complementary and contrasting. So again, I'm going to just add in a little bit of white there. Coming with a bit of primary yellow. I've had a lot of fun. I've got to a point now where I think I'll stop. At this stage, what might be nice, so that I've got a coherent ground and a little collection, would be at this stage to cut and then work on those with whatever I feel like. It could be florals, it could be anything, it could be little buildings. I don't know yet because I haven't got there. So, but this is very liberating, working on the canvas. I'm going to order some more canvas and get gessoing. And I think this is a better way, having the canvas free before it's stretched. Working on the big guy, let me just show you. So when we made the stretcher for Bus Ride to Whitby, that was all stretched, if you remember, before I started. And that's the other way of doing it, but I do like this idea of having the canvas free. I'm late to the party. The free canvas party. I have a stretcher, the wooden stretcher, and I found another little piece of canvas that is only just big enough, but we just thought we'd fix it just to be sure of our measurements. So we've now got the right measurements to wrap around the little stretchers, and I freed one corner from the canvas. I found it really hard not to treat this. I started thinking of this as a painting. I even started thinking, oh, I'll keep this as a painting. So I very quickly kept turning and putting more and more paint down to remind myself that this is just groundwork for these small canvases. So I will get some gesso on that one, and Craig will bring in some more stretchers. The gesso's dried on that little stretcher, so I'm ready to go on there. So we're going to do some that won't have frames. These deep won't have a frame, but we're going to do some smaller ones that will have a frame. Oh, how one thing just does roll into the next. So the idea with that is that will look very sweet just without the frame. But Craig's got some timber that's narrower, and one of his let me grab it. One of his cradle frames will work if this is shallower. Oh, so that's the plan. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to attempt to paint up the non-framed canvas cube. Well, I put out far too much paint, so I had to very quickly break out another canvas to lose the excess. But that I've painted all around, so I'll just leave that to dry. It's the afternoon, and I always want to cut corners in the afternoon. I should have just put the paint down on a palette, but no, impatience wins out. That should dry quite quickly. I've picked up a turquoise blue. So it's very strange to me to think about painting round the edge. I decided I wouldn't let it dry and see what effect I could get from the turquoise mixing in a little bit with that blue. At this stage, you could push into the paint. And again, you can do this because you've gone in pretty thickly. Too much paint down, and that's where I am at the moment, not finished. I'm going to definitely need to give them a nice finishing top coat. A little bit more I think I'll do on there. I've never ever worked going around the edge, so this is this is definitely something new, and I'm really quite enjoying it. It's good. It's always really good, you know, to do something you haven't done. My preference, I think, is to have plenty of ground down rather than trying to get around the corner. The paint tends to want to gather up on the edge, but it's easier to stretch the canvas to staple down without paint than with paint. So there are pros and cons. I absolutely I'm just loving the edge. I am loving the edges as much as the face. So I'll keep going, I will keep going on that. Morning everyone. I have managed to get, it's just about dry, one coat of gloss medium has gone down on that one. This one, well, it reminds me of a little bit of tapestry, but I think I need to get a little bit of depth into here. It's all a bit mid-tone. That is the little stretcher, a smaller stretcher, because that one, the canvas for the smaller stretcher, we have a template, because when this is stretched, it's going to sit in a cradle frame. As I think I've already said, we're going to have the two. It's all a big trial. So that might help me this morning to act as a guide. So let's get that one done this morning. I've put a line around the template and I've daubed out quite a large amount of white paint. I actually need, I think, just go around the edge. And that will give me a clean edge when it's wrapped. On the colour wheel, at the moment, I've got yellow, and this is a shade of yellow. So I put a little bit of black to get this green. So if I put my complementary arrow, violet we know is the complementary. If we look at the split complementary, are the colours that you get either side, you get a yellow green and a yellow orange sits there. I have to say also, I think my colour wheel has faded. I'm looking out in the garden, there's some deadheading of cosmos to be done, but I might use that. I might use the cosmos and the phormiums as an inspiration for this little one. I've got a cadmium orange hue, which is very strong. This is a cadmium yellow deep. I think it's the cadmium yellow deep. If I mix that, yeah, if I mix that in. So just tight little centres. I really can only see the back mainly of the cosmos, so I'm cheating. Actually, what I'll do, if I block out a whole section, Okay, I'm going to leave it there. It's pretty heavy in paint, so I'll let that settle, let it dry. I've cleaned all my brushes off onto this board, so this will be at some stage a really nice ground for me to work on, so there's no waste. I get asked sometimes about how do I clean brushes. I put them to soak and I leave them, generally I've got stacks of brushes, so I can leave them in water, and then you'll find that the sediment, the acrylic, settles on the bottom. If you strain that water off, you can then go in, take out the gloopiness and put it doesn't, what I'm trying to say is it then doesn't have to go down the sink. You can get rid of that in your bin. So I don't want to put acrylic down the drain. So that's what I do. Anyway, let that dry. This one really does need, the more I look at it, the more I realise it's all mid-tone with this little bit of light. So I need to get more lights and maybe a little bit, definitely actually a little bit more depth in there. So that's what I'll do next. Ending here this week. Linda, if you're watching, hi Linda, and thank you for prompting me to get my signature on the front. I very, very rarely put the signature on the front because I generally make a hash and then I've wrecked the painting. So I have been practicing, working very quickly at taking it off if it's not right. So thank you to Linda for prompting me to do that. I do feel better about putting a small signature on the front as well as on the back. I always sign the back. And I've even managed to get a little signature on these. I'm really enjoying them. They're really, really good fun. I will keep going. So hopefully next week I can show you a few more. What else for next week? What am I doing? Oh, we're thinking of an outing. I think an outing is on the cards. So I'll be sure to film and take Buddy sketchbook and see what that might bring. Whatever you're up to, if you have any outings, if you're working on free canvas, let me know. All top tips are welcome. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you as usual for watching and liking and subscribing. Lovely, lovely comments. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.